Hey guys, Dr. Morris Injury Experts. It's Wednesday night, October 16th. We are about to start week 7 tomorrow night. There are a ton of guys injured. There are 70 players on my list. It's getting a little ridiculous at this point, and some of those guys don't even include some of the guys that are on IR. Traditionally, how I do this, I do quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, tight ends. We will put timestamps in for you. If you're watching this on Twitter and you want timestamps, you're probably going to need to head to the YouTube channel. It's just a lot harder to do it on Twitter. So, without further ado, let's start. Baker Mayfield, minor rib injury. He'll be fine. He has an incredible matchup. You should be starting him every week. It looks really good right now. Drake Maye looked really good in his debut, appropriate bumps. Popped up today with a knee injury, but here's the concerning part. He had a full practice. I like that. But he had an MRI after the first practice. That tells me that he powered through something and something didn't feel right or he didn't look right. And they said, you know what? We need to check this out. Mind you, they're supposed to fly to London, probably Friday. I would guess maybe Saturday, but it could be Friday or Saturday. So they need to figure this out quickly. Hopefully this is nothing. And they just say, oh yeah, my guess is a little bit of a tweak in the meniscus if I were to guess. But they're just being safe with their superstar potential quarterback. We will have more information when we get more for that. Aaron Rodgers is going to play unless you chop off his leg. He's got an ankle. He's got a hammy. He's got a little bit of a knee. I'm not worried. He gets his boy toy in Davante Adams back. Derek Carr not likely to play tomorrow night with an oblique. Spencer Rattler looked pretty good considering. Matthew Stafford, he should be fine. He had a week off. He's got a crazy injury history. He popped up with a back about 2 weeks ago. He'll be fine. Anthony Richardson is probably going to return this week. I thought he was going to potentially return last week, but either they decided they like winning with Joe Flacco or they're being super careful with Anthony Richardson, or both. Either way, the hip, the oblique, the abdomen, it's probably the oblique that is slowing him down. Just like Derek Carr, these are painful and these do take time to heal. But I do think he returns this week. Heading over to running backs. Jordan Mason. I did a separate video on him today if you want an extensive deep dive. I do think he plays this week. He has a left AC sprain, probably a type 1. The problem with this is that this is a painful injury. He's not that far out from it. And I have a feeling they're going to use a running back by committee, and he's pretty high risk for re-injury. So be careful with him. Garendo becomes a sneaky kind of option here. I wasn't a big impressed with Taylor. Travis Etienne actually managed to limited practice today, so the hamstring must be really, really mild. They are still in London, from what I can tell. I was assuming he was out this week, so now we have to reevaluate. Tank Bigsby would be the primary guy, whether or not Etienne plays, but Ernest Johnson becomes less relevant if Etienne is on the board. We will see probably in the next couple of days. Jerome Ford is going to be out with his hammy. I expect Nick Chubb to make his debut this week. And it will probably be a 2 or 3 man backfield there with Pierre Strong likely getting the receiving targets, and Donta Foreman if they need someone to spell either of those two. Tyjae Spears probably going to miss his first NFL game with a hamstring injury. Probably not going to be out long, but enough to hold him out a week. Tony Pollard has been ramping up beautifully. Just continue to rock with him. He's been really solid. Trey Sermon popped up today with a knee injury that did not allow him to play. Remember, last week we kind of did this with a collarbone and he ended up playing, but he just hasn't been particularly very good. Goodson actually looked pretty good, whereas Jonathan Taylor actually did not practice today. He did a pretty extensive interview this morning that I retweeted. And you could just see, I don't think he's quite ready yet. It just doesn't look like he's ready yet. He doesn't have the body language. Yeah, I'm ready to go. I feel great. I didn't get that from him. It's possible when he plays, but he did not practice today. And Najee Harris, he ended up popping up with a rib injury that did not practice today. Now, they might be doing a veteran day, which he does have a tendency to do, but this could be a new injury that may be potentially concerning. I tweeted this earlier today. Some say I might have jinxed him. He has never missed an NFL game, and he is the last active starting running back to do so, which is kind of cool. He hasn't been very good the past 6 to 12 games, but best reliability is availability. So we'll have to see how that plays out. Jaylen Warren becomes relevant again, I think, if this is actually a true injury and they're not just giving him a little extra day off. James Cook probably wanted to play the other night, but missed his first game with a turf toe. He limited practice today. I think there's a decent chance he gets back on the field, which is going to murky this backfield because I do think they put Ray Davis in. I don't think James Cook is going to be 100% bell cow anymore. I think he lost that privilege. And he is at high risk for re-injury because the turf toes are notorious for re-injury. They are very painful. They're very frustrating injuries. Bijan was almost in a perfect 50-50 split. Still looked obviously really good. Not overly worried about that hamstring. Aaron Jones popped up today officially with a hamstring. All right, I tweeted about this, and I talked about this about 10 days ago when he suffered it. And I was like, this could be a hip flexor, this could be a hip pointer, but the way he grabbed his hip, I thought it might be a hamstring. Well, they have him listed as a hamstring. Remember, last year he missed, 5 or 6 games in total, I think, with various injuries, but I think 3 or 4 of them were with a hamstring. Now, I don't think this is the same spot as the same hamstring that he had last year. Why? Because proximal semitendinosus tears, which is near the butt basically, are not common. He even mentioned, hey, I felt it before the game. I was able to kind of get it loose, and then it tightened up on me during that big play, and that's why they held me out and didn't let me go back in. Now, it's been 10 days. He says he's going to practice tomorrow. We'll have to see how it is, but I'm not 100% confident in him this week. I would not be surprised if they held him out, but I do think Ty Chandler becomes relevant whether he plays all the snaps or 70% of the snaps or 50% of the snaps. They did just trade for Cam Akers. Again, that probably showed a little bit of a signal. I don't think Cam Akers has a whole lot left. So I just think those Achilles are it's just too tough for him. So I think Ty Chandler becomes the guy here this week. Rachaad White trending in the right direction. I just don't know if it's going to be enough to get him on the field this week. He also missed his first game along with James Cook of his career this past week. Chase Brown should be fine. Devon Achane has cleared the concussion protocol and will be good to start. He should not have a performance dip. I'm looking forward to seeing him get back and maybe turn into the player that he was last year. He's really disappointed us so far this year. It's just not as fun watching when he's not, as good as he was. Rhamondre Stevenson did not practice today. So again, this may take another week. This is probably a midfoot sprain, which is basically a bruise or injury, weakness to this part of the foot, and it's painful. And it's just not, it's not something that you can do without pain, and you lose a lot of your explosiveness. You just do. But Antonio Gibson looked awful. I mean, he did not look good. So I would just avoid that backfield altogether. They're going to throw the ball, assuming that that Drake May's in there more. They're just not going to run the ball a whole lot. Zack Moss should be fine, but he's losing this platoon, and he's coming off a high ankle. So even if it's very, very mild, I still think it's affecting him in some capacity. Alvin Kamara will be fine. As I mentioned, Jonathan Taylor already. Joe Mixon is still not 100% over that ankle. You could see him hobbling during that big run, but he looked good. So just give him a couple more weeks until he's 100%. But, he's back. He'll be on the field. Bijan Robinson popped up today and actually played. So probably just tweaked his knee, maybe in that mild MCL sprain. So I think there's a decent chance he returns this week. Devin Singletary also returned in a limited capacity today with his groin injury. So I think if he does come back, and there's a decent chance he does, it's going to be a split with Tracy because he just looks really good. Patterson, I haven't seen any updates, not really relevant. Zamir White, I think he has the potential to come back, but he hasn't been very good at all. And then Bucky Irving and Dameon Pierce will both be fine to play. All right, now let's transition over to wide receivers. So we have back-to-back New Orleans Saint wide receivers that are going to be out this week, as I predicted on, I think it was Sunday. We are not going to see Chris Olave because he's not going to clear the concussion protocol. And we're not going to see Rashid Shaheed because, come to find out today, and I did a separate video on this, he ended up tearing his meniscus, which is this blue thing in the knee, which is responsible for cutting and twisting. Now, let's hope that he just has a trim. While it's not good for his long-term health, it's much better for his short-term health, and he'll be able to come back. If he needs a repair, although it's not super common, he would be done for the year. So let's hope it's not that. Jayden Reed has been banged up for the whole season now. He banged up with an ankle. I think he probably plays. Dontayvion Wicks, we thought it was pretty serious. He popped up and was playing. He was practicing a little bit of capacity today. So Marvin Harrison Jr., I haven't seen the update for that yet. So he's in the concussion protocol. I'd say there's about a 60% chance he misses this game. If he did not practice, then even higher. They have a Monday game. So he his first practice won't be technically until Thursday. Remember last week, they kind of did this with Buffalo and they ended up practicing on Wednesday. So we won't know. Harrison has to get to a limited practice by Friday, and he has to have a full practice by Saturday in order to play. Now, DJ Moore, he's on a bye. He tweaked his eye. He'll be fine. Elijah Moore, he's fine with a rib. He wasn't even on the injury report. Quentin Johnston, I haven't seen an update. I think he's on a bye. They're on the Monday night game as well. He had a minor ankle. But Jauan Jennings did not practice today with a hip injury. That could be a hip pointer. That could be a hip flexor. Could be worse. So we'll have to see how to play out. He's kind of lost a lot of his steam with Ayuk back and with Kittle playing well in Deebo. So, he could potentially end up missing, but he hasn't been super dominant since. Deebo popped up with a wrist injury today, but he did practice in limited capacity. So I think he's probably just babying it a little bit, and he's going to, he'll end up playing, and I think he'll be okay. I'm assuming he just sprained it. Good news for you Cooper Kupp owners. He looked actually pretty good today in the short video that I saw. I retweeted it. There's a very good chance he returns in week 7, which is kind of what I thought. I thought that might happen if everything went to perfect and planned, and it looks like it is. Now they're playing the Raiders, so if you really can't ask for a better smash spot than here. If he's on the field, he's going to get targets. I do have some concerns about a little bit of re-injury, but not enough to sit him. Puka Nacua, on the other hand, is probably going to be out for another 3 to 4 weeks. And realistically, and I tweeted this earlier, it's a little far-fetched, but it's not crazy. They're 1-4 now. If there's a scenario where they're 2-7, 2-8, maybe 3-8, something like that, 3-7, and they're like, you know what? Let's not risk our future wide receiver 1 for a lost season on a bad PCL sprain, and we're not going to bring him back this season. Wouldn't surprise me at all. These are frustrating injuries. This is what Lamar Jackson had a couple years ago. It took him probably 7 months to get back comfortable again. These are not easy injuries. I have a paper that I published about this specific injury that I fixed with stem cells. It took him a while to get back. They're just not quick injuries, unfortunately. So, remains to be seen about Puka Nacua. Davante Adams, what hamstring strain? He's fine. He'll be playing Sunday. Start him. Malik Nabers, very good chance he clears the concussion protocol tomorrow, finally heading in the right direction. I'm happy to see he's doing better. Khalil Shakir, back to full practice. He'll be better, and we don't know if Amari Cooper is going to play this week. He might take time to get acclimated. Maybe he doesn't know the playbook at all, but, so we'll have to see how this plays out. Shakir is going to benefit indirectly from getting less coverage, but obviously he's going to lose some targets. But in general, I think it's not going to hurt him that much. And Kincaid, we'll talk about in a minute, he popped up with an injury as well. Pittman dealing with that back injury still, so we'll kind of keep an eye on that. Same with Downs with his toe, neither practiced today. Now, I thought I saw Jacoby Myers practicing, but apparently they labeled him as a do not practice, so we'll have to keep an eye on him with his ankle. I'm leaning towards, did he suffer a high ankle or just a bad lateral ankle? I did not see the play. All I know is that he hasn't been able to get on the field. Jordan Whittington's still limiting with his shoulder. He could potentially be useful if he's able to get out there. Probably will, but I expect him to get less volume secondary to Cooper Kupp. But Gabe Davis, mild shoulder. Darnell Mooney will probably be fine with his knee. I'm not overly worried. Deontay Johnson has been dealing with this thing for the ankle for the while. I'm assuming it's just status quo. A.J. Brown still in a little bit of increased injury risk, but overall, I think we're doing fine. And then now let's transition over to the tight ends. Remember, there's 70 guys on this list, so it's a lot of guys. All right, something I want you to keep an eye on for tomorrow, so you're not surprised, is that there's a possibility Trey McBride injured his knee. Now, it was a fluky play. He kind of landed on it hard on the sidelines, and he was kind of favoring it the rest of the game. Now, it could have been a quad. It could have been a PCL. It just really depends on the angle, and I couldn't see it perfectly. I'm not super worried about it, but I haven't heard anything about it, obviously, from the team yet or any of the reporters, but we'll keep an eye on it. If he's not on the report, great. It's something that could possibly be there. I expect Dallas Goedert to miss this game. I don't think he's going to be able to play this week. Grant Calcaterra becomes a sneaky option for there if you need him. Dalton Kincaid popped up with a collarbone injury. These are usually not on the thing unless you fracture them, but I believe he was a limited participant today, so I don't really know what to make of this. I'm just going to assume it's not a big deal because this is the second time I've seen this in 2 weeks, and I don't really understand it. Hayden Hurst, groin injury. I have to see what the update is tomorrow. You're probably not starting him, not really relevant. TJ Hawkinson could make his debut today. He was limited in practice today. They might give him another week. I'm hoping they don't, but we'll have to see. I'll give you an update on Friday if he's heading towards playing. But he's going to be a little rusty, so you might need to wait a week or two anyway. Njoku's fine with his knee/ankle/everything else he has. Could really benefit from Amari Cooper being gone, so we might have to smash the over on him, as well as with Jerry Jeudy as well. Most of the other tight ends are kind of, I would say, irrelevant, but Kazeki dealing with that hamstring strain, not overly relevant anymore. Conklin should be fine with his hip. He looked okay last week, but now he's got another mouth to feed, so Tucker Kraft didn't do the best last week. Could have been the groin. A little healthier this week. Freiermuth should be fine with his calf. George Kittle should be close to 100% from his rib injury. He's looked incredible. Taysom Hill is expected to miss tomorrow night's game with that rib fracture. Just not quite enough time yet. And then Evan Ingram is not 100% from his hamstring, but smash that over. If he is playing, he is going to get about another 10 or 15 targets. So he as long as he's in the lineup, I would start him because he has a great potential. I will be very busy this weekend, so I don't know how much updates I'm going to be able to provide. I'm going to be at a stem cell conference, but best of luck, and we will provide the Sunday night update for you, and I'll provide a bunch of updates on Friday for you. Thank you very much. Tune in, do me a favor, smash a thumbs up, subscribe, check out some of the other content, check out our site. And if you're into betting, my betting recommendations are on fire right now. We're up 20 units from last week. It's only $10, I think, a week or something like that. So check it out. Go on to theinjuryexperts.com. There's a betting recommendation section. You can click on that, and it will upload, and I update the page pretty much daily. Take care. We'll see you on Sunday night.